thing was, I had two major experiences. The first one was my um, dead mother visiting me. Okay. Um, I was in America. I mean, I grew up in America in Philadelphia, and me and my mother we were very, very close. Okay. She was the joy of my life. My father was had a military background. He was like a police officer and also a Marine. And it wasn't that he didn't love me, but he was very like dutiful, very I felt cold. He was like very dutiful. What do you want for your birthday? Okay, here. What do you want for Christmas? Okay, here. And that's it. It was not what do you really feel? What would you really, he was very just dutiful. He did his job and that was it. And my mother was the joy. My mother would show me early in the morning, hey, did you look outside? Did you see the birds? Look at the birds. They're so beautiful. She was a joy in my life. And the thing was when my mother got sick and died, it was like somebody had turned the lights out in my life. It was a shock for me because my mother um, didn't have a job and she had saved her money to buy me a saxophone because I'm a saxophone player and a singer. And and she didn't have any job, so she saved her money for 3 years to buy me my first saxophone. So it meant the world to me. My mother meant the world to me. And when she passed away, um, it was like my life, somebody turned out the lights in my life. So when she passed away, I was in Montreal, Canada at the time. And Um, 2 weeks after she died, I started to drink. I would go to the bar every night, have some drinks, and then come back to my apartment, come in my room, turn out the light, and sit on the side of my bed and cry myself to sleep. I did that for about a week, week and a half, something like that, until one night I was coming back home, doing my routine from the bar, and I came in my room. I turned out the lights. I went to sit on the side of my bed. And I went to untie my sneakers. But when I went to untie my sneakers, I saw that, hey, there's light. I said, that can't be. I know I just turned out the light. And here's the crazy part. When I looked up, it was like the sun that you see in the sky was in my room. And I looked, my mouth was open. I was like, and it was like this wave that came over me. The only way I can describe it is if you're in the ocean and you have a wave that the water that's too high and it covers your whole body. It was like that. The water was love. It was like a wave of love that covered my whole body. And here's another interesting thing that sometimes I don't always mention on interviews, but I'll mention it on yours. Was that when this sun was in my room, I could feel it sucking all the alcohol out of my body, literally. It sucked all the alcohol out of my body. I could feel it being sucked out. And I'm looking at this light and all this love is covered my whole body. And then out of this sun came these two stars. One star was a little bit bigger and one star was smaller. And they were floating out to me. And I saw that the smallest star was my mother. I recognized that it was my mother. Um, I could feel her essence in this star, that it was her. And first thing I said to her was, wow, Mom, it's like that over there. Because it felt like I was on the beach in Hawaii and I was a billionaire and I had nothing but love around me. It just felt so, so much of everything, love and power and everything. And so I said, it's like that over there, Mom. And And her and this other light came to me, and then she started to talk to me. And she said, I'm going to tell you a week in the future, so you're going to know that this is not a dream, this is not fake, this is not an illusion. She said, you're going to get a job next week. Now, me and my band at the time, we hadn't worked in about 3 weeks. So it was a dry spell. We didn't have many jobs at that moment, at that time. And she said, well, you're going to get a job next week. And she said, there's going to be a doorman or a bouncer at the door, you know. And she said, he's going to be a homosexual and he's going to be a psychopath. And she said, whatever you do, do not get into an argument or fight with him. Now, my mother knew me. This happened when I was about 29 years old at the time. And my mother knew me that I was not looking for trouble, but she knew that. And another thing I want to say, um, I have nothing against lesbians, homosexuals, at all. But if you know that I'm straight and I'm not transsexual or homosexual, and you come after me, I was going to defend myself. My mother knew that, and she told me, "Don't get into a fight, but or an argument or a fight." And I said, "Okay, Mom, no problem." I was just so happy to see her that I do anything you tell me to do, Mom. I will do it. Yes. And then she said, because if you get into an argument with this person, one or two timelines are going to happen. And this is the part where she starts to talk like, I don't know, like Captain Kirk in Star Trek or something. She says one or two timelines going to happen. Either he's going to kill you or you're going to kill him, but you go to jail for the rest of your life. And she said one of these two timelines are going to happen if you get into an argument with him. And I said, no, Mom, I will not get into an argument. I will do exactly whatever you say. And then she said, um, and your girlfriend that you have, she has 3 kids that you don't know about. And she's going to try to have a fourth kid with you. So be aware of that and be careful. Now, my girlfriend at that time, I only knew her for about a year and a half, but I didn't know of any kind of kids at all. Um, so so that was some new news to me. And then she told me that I'm always gonna be around you, but you're not gonna be as aware of me as you are tonight in the future. Just tonight you're gonna be more aware of me. And then she took a pause. And when she took a pause, I said, but Mom, tell me, who is this other light standing next to you? And then the other light spoke to me. It said, I'm an escort. I'm escorting your mother to the earth. And some of the exact words it said it was, this is an interruption in your life. And I said, an interruption? Well, I got some questions. I mean, I have like Star Wars in my room. I said, I want to know who's going to be my wife, how many kids I'm going to have, why am I here? And this light was about maybe 7 feet. I consider it an angel. It said in a very calm, relaxing voice, it said, I'm going to tell you everything you want to know, but you won't be allowed to remember. You're only going to be allowed to remember what your mother said. So it told me everything that I wanted to know, but I couldn't remember it even to this day. I only remember what my mother said. So then my mother told me that she loves me and she'll always be around me. And then they started to go back to the sun that was in my room. And they like if you put ice cube in a glass of water and it starts to melt. That's how they started to melt back into the sun. And the light in my room started to get more dim and more dim and more dim until It went totally back to where it was, black, no lights. And then tears burst out my eyes once they left because I said, nobody's ever going to believe this happened. Nobody's going to believe me. Nobody. This is too wild. This is too crazy. Nobody's ever going to believe this. But I have the proof. The next day, my band called me and said, hey, man, we got a job. Now, I was not going to tell my band what had happened the night before because I didn't want my band saying, oh, he's a great singer, a great saxophone player, but since his mom died, he lost it, man. So I didn't mention nothing. I said, oh, that's great. We got a job. And I hung up the phone. And then I said to myself, wow, it seems like everything is starting to happen, like she said. And so I went to the sound check um, the next day. And for people who don't know what the sound check is, it's like the band that checks the equipment maybe 3 or 4 hours before the show starts to make sure everything works properly. So I went to the club, and there was these two huge bouncers at the door, but they didn't say anything to me, and I didn't say nothing to them. And I went to the club, did the sound check, it was fine. And that night came back for the job. We did our first show. Everything went good. People loved it. And I was on the break. We did a break. And on the break or the pause, it was me and the band, and I was talking to the band. And then this bouncer walked behind me and grabbed my butt, just grabbed it. And I was talking, I was like, hey, guys, did you see that? This guy just grabbed my butt, man. I got to tell this guy something. And I was angry at the time. And he went over into the corner of the club, and I was angry, and I said, oh, I got to tell this guy something. And then I said, oh, yeah, remember mom, remember mom. Don't lose it, man. Don't lose it. Don't lose it. Eh, Um, Calm down. Don't lose it. Just go and tell him you're not like that, and that's it. So I went over to him and I said, hey, man, listen, um, I'm not like that. Please don't touch me no more. And he said, I didn't touch you. You had too many beers. And I said, yeah, you did touch me. But I'm telling you, I'm not like that. Please don't touch me. And then he said, why did you tell your friends? And I said, I told my friends because you did touch me. But I'm telling you now, I'm not like that. Please don't touch me. And then I left because the longer I stayed in that conversation, the more it was going towards what my mother said, an argument. And so I didn't want to get into an argument with this person or fight. So I just left. And I did the second show. And then I left the club. I went past him and left the club. And the next day, I got a phone call from the band again. And they said, hey, man, remember that bouncer you were telling us about? I said, yeah. He said, did you hear what happened? I said, no. I said, he got into an argument with the club owner and crushed both of his rib cages. The club owner died, and he's in jail for manslaughter right now. And he's in jail to this day. And I said, oh, wow, man. Oh my God, that's so crazy. I still didn't tell him that my mother had told me about it. And so I hung up the phone and I said, oh my God, everything is coming true, just like my mother said. I said, if it's true about that, then my girlfriend. Oh, I got to call her. So I went to call my girlfriend and she answered the phone. Hello, hello. I said, tell me something. Just tell me the truth. Do you have 3 kids? And the phone went silent. And then she said, who told you? And I said, no, no, this can't be true. Wait, 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 wait. This can't be. I know you for almost 2 years, year and a half. I never seen any kids. Do you have any kids? Do you have 3 kids? And she said, yes, I have 3 kids. Who told you? And then I said, I'm going to tell you who told me. My dead mother told me. And I said, if you had told me about your kids, it would have been okay. But you lied for so long. I said, I don't trust you. And I said, I don't know what else you could be hiding. So we're finished. And so that relationship ended. And that was my first major spiritual event. Now, after that, I'm going to start to talk about my second Um, After that, I said to myself, this is too crazy. Nobody's going to believe me. So I'm going to try to get back to normal life. So that's what I did. So I started to follow the singer. He was in a group, a renewed group called the Platters, not the original Platters because that's too old for me. It's an old group, but this was a renewed group. They made the group again, another group of the Platters. And he was a great singer. And I mean, he had contracts in Germany, America, Europe, everywhere. He did TV shows and all kinds of stuff. So I started to follow him. He was my mentor for singing. And until one night, he offered me drugs. And I started to do drugs with him because he was successful. He had a lot of money. He had a lot of record contracts. And I thought that that was the way to go. So I started to do drugs with him, which I have to say to your audience, I am not so proud about that part. Um, so I was doing drugs with this great singer, killer vocals, until one weekend he just dropped dead. And for me, that was my signal that if you don't stop doing drugs, you're going to end up like him exactly, and you're going to drop dead. So I stopped doing drugs totally, and I replaced it with marijuana, which means that I thought, you smoke a joint once a month, that's okay, that's not so bad. So that's what I was doing. And one day with my new girlfriend, we ran out of marijuana. Now I have to say that most musicians, no matter what town or even country you put them in, they're gonna know where to get marijuana. So this particular day, me and my girlfriend had ran out of marijuana, so we didn't have any. So I just called one of my musician friends and I said, "Do you have any marijuana? Because we ran out." And he said, "Sure, I got marijuana. I can bake it in a cake and bring it over to you." I said, "Cool." So he brought it over. It was a chocolate cake, and he set it there, and then he left me and my girlfriend. He just left. So me and my girlfriend, I took a small piece for her, and took a small piece for me, and we ate that cake, and 10 minutes went by and nothing happened. And I said, "Hey, do you feel anything?" She said, "No." I said, "Maybe we have to eat a little bit more cake. Maybe he didn't put a lot of marijuana in the cake." Because I don't know how it's supposed to feel because I never had marijuana in the cake. I always smoked it, but I never had it in the cake. So she cut half of the cake and I took the other half of the cake because we wanted to get high. So she ate her half, I ate my half, and 10 minutes went by again and nothing happened. And I said, "You feel anything?" She said, "No." I said, "I don't feel anything either." I said, "It must be a bad batch. I don't know." And then another 10 minutes went by and then we started to feel something. But it wasn't like we were getting high. It was more like our bodies started to shut down. I was talking with her, and then would forget to breathe. I would forget to breathe. And then I started to feel that I couldn't move, like I couldn't, it was harder and harder for me to move. And she said, "You better call 911 while we still can." And I said, "Yeah, you're right. I think so, because I'm having trouble breathing and moving." So I called 911 and they said, hello. And it was a little embarrassing for me because I had to tell them, they said, what's the problem? And I had to say, well, I think we had too much marijuana in a cake and it feels like we're dying. Could you please come and help and save us? So they said, yes, we'll send someone right over. But what I didn't know is that when you call 911 and it's about any kind of narcotic, they also call the police. So the police came with them, and the police came, but they couldn't charge us with anything because we had eaten all the cake, so there was no evidence. So, so the police left, and then the ambulance came and they put us in stretchers. And I was glad that they came because I could barely move. I could feel my heart trying to beat, but it was difficult, and I could barely move. And I said, "Thank God they're here because now they say I can be saved." Because I thought that it was it for me because I couldn't move anymore. I was having trouble to breathe a little bit. So then, this is at 4 o'clock in the morning, by the way. We're on the third floor. The apartment's on the third floor, and there's a staircase, a spiraling staircase outside, and um, there's windows of my neighbors of the second floor and the first floor. The window is right in front of the staircase. So they're bringing us down in separate stretchers. And my neighbors at 4 o'clock in the morning are looking out their window like, what's wrong with them? And the lights of the ambulance is flashing and all that stuff. So they put us in the ambulance and they rush us to the hospital. And as we arrive to the hospital, they are wheeling me in the stretcher past the reception at the hospital. And another strange thing happens at the reception is that I see my dead mother again. But this time she has um, this shirt on because she belonged when she was alive, she belonged to a women's club. And this women's club, they played bingo together. They went on trips together. It was about 10 women. And they wore these particular shirts, like a special kind of shirt. And I recognized that. And I said, oh, as they were wheeling me past, I said, that's strange. There's mom. She was looking through papers in the reception looking for me. And what I didn't realize till later on was that when they wheeled me past the reception, I was so close to death at that point. That's why I could see her clearly like I see you right now. And then they took me into one room, one hospital room, and they took my girlfriend into another. And it seems that my girlfriend might have been having even more problems. So they all went to her room and they left me and they gave me this black drink to drink. I thought it was tar, but later on I found out that it was charcoal. So I drank this charcoal drink down. I was sitting on my hospital bed, drank this charcoal down. I was sitting there by myself, and I said, I'm gonna live. I'm gonna live. I'm gonna live. I think I'm gonna live. So I'm drinking this drink. It tastes horrible, so horrible. And I drink it down, and I relax on my hospital bed. I start to lay back on the bed, and I said, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna live. And then all of a sudden, I start to hear my heart like in my ears, like somebody took my heart and put it right at my ear. And I start to hear my heart beat, boom, 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 boom. And when it did the last boom, I popped out of my body, just like I would pop out of this chair. I just popped out. And when that happened, I said, I'm out. And I I could see my body on the bed and I'm standing next to it. And I start to look at my hand. I was looking at my hand, and my hand, it looked like it looked gray, like light gray with a light blue tint around it. Like this light blue light that's around the earth, it was around my hand. And the hand was like a grayish color, like a light gray color with this light blue around it. And I was looking at my hand like this. I said, I'm out. And then across from my hospital bed, there was a sink, and there was a drop of water that was dripping, drip, 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 dripping from the sink. And I don't know, when I was out of my body, my curiosity was like at 1,000. To a soul, a drop of water was the most amazing thing you could ever see. And I said, wow, a drop of water. And the minute I thought about the drop of water, my vision went straight up to the water, straight up to the drop of water real quick, and then back to where I was at the hospital bed, standing. And then I said, I would like to see, I would like to freeze, I would like to stop time because I wanted because the water was dripping fast. I wanted to stop time somehow. And it was like if you didn't ride a bike in 20 years and I gave you a bicycle to ride, you still would know how to ride it, right? Well, it was like that for me. It was like I was remembering somehow. And I just put my hand across the screen just like I just did now, and time stopped, and the drop of water froze in midair. And to a soul, that wasn't like, oh, wow, that's amazing. For me, to a soul, it was more like, yeah, okay. And then I said, I would like to see that drop of water from every angle. And then I just opened my hand just like that, and five of me appeared at the sink. One was on the right, one was on the left, one was underneath the sink watching the water. One was watching them, and another one was watching them, and I was watching all five. And my mouth was like, wow. And when I would close my hand, they would all suck back up to me into one. So I kept doing that. And I'd, well, that's five of me. Then back to one. And I kept doing it. And then I said, I wonder if I make my hand shake a little bit, would they all shake when they appeared? So I went like that, and they all appeared and they all shook like that, and I burst out laughing. I burst out laughing. And then my laugh was like ha 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 ha. Like it went into eternity over there. And after the laugh, I could feel all of a sudden somebody was watching me. And then I heard a voice. And this voice was God, and it was saying, if you don't go back, it was talking to me like a parent would talk at a to a child at a playground. Don't run around the corner so fast you might fall. It said to me, if you don't go back now, you might have to stay. And it wasn't a command, it was said in such a loving, gentle voice. And I said, oh, yeah, that's right. My heart can't stay stopped forever that long. And I didn't question who the voice was because I knew that it was God. I could feel it. And so I said, yes, that's right. And then I pointed myself at the body because I knew that even though the other side was quite amazing, I had all these powers and all this, it was fun. I still had my personality. Everything was me. I was me, except maybe I felt a little bit lighter, like I lost 10 pounds or something. I don't know, but it felt lighter. But that was about it. And so I pointed, I didn't want to, I still felt I wanted to do something in this life. So I pointed myself in at my body and I just said, I'm going to jump into this body. And that's exactly what I did. Like you would jump into a swimming pool. I just went, okay, jump. And I jumped into the body. And then my heart did a double beat, boom, 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 boom. And then it started to beat. And then, but there was something else that was happening that I have to explain to you that I forgot to say. And that is, while I was out of my body, I don't know if you ever heard of this thing called Alka-Seltzer, when you drop it into water, like it dissolves. Well, anyway, as I was out of my body, information was expanding like that. Expanding, expanding. The longer I was out of my body, the more information was expanding, or downloads, you might want to call it. Information that came to me. And this time I was able to bring it back. This time I was able to remember it. And it was information that was totally the opposite of what I believed. And it was information about everything, about why do souls come here, about God, about heaven, about hell, about Christ, about the Bible, about so many subjects. And yeah, so when I came back to this life again, I had all this information to digest because it was totally, like I said, the opposite of what I've been taught and what I believed. And also, I discovered that I had gifts, like things that I could do that I couldn't do before. Like I I I could tell things, I could read people's energy and I could tell things about them without knowing them. I mean, when I came back into my body, I had so much, there was so much information and so much amazing things. It took me at least 2 years before I was able to really talk about it with a lot of people. Um, and I had to discover because I went back to being a musician. I said, "Oh, my life is, let's try to be normal again." It seems like my life is not so normal. So I went back to doing my music, and then and I tried not to talk about what had happened to me because I said, it's just nobody gonna believe me. These things are happening. This thing happened. So I was doing a job in Mont Roland in Canada, and it was a job during the day, and it was a snowstorm, so nobody came to this particular club. So it was only two waitresses. It was a new job, a new club. There was only two waitresses there and the band. So we were drinking beers. There was nothing to do. Nobody was there. There's a snowstorm. We couldn't go nowhere. So I called one of the waitresses over, and I don't know her at all, never met her. And I said, "Come on over. Give me your left hand. I'm going to tell you your future for fun." It was supposed to be like a joke. So I told her, I said, "Your boyfriend is paraplegic." I said, "He blames you for his handicap, but even though it's not your fault, 3 months from now, you're going to meet a guy and you're going to fall in love. And another 3 months, you're going to marry that guy. And that's going to be the love of your life for the rest of your life. You're going to be happy the rest of your life." And I just threw her hand away and I was finishing my beer. I didn't notice that she didn't say a whole word, not one word to the whole thing, which I didn't really notice about it, but I didn't pay no attention about it, but she didn't speak to the whole thing. A year later, I went to play that same club with my band. This waitress ran up to me and she said, "Hey, remember me? You told me my future." She said, "Did you know that everything you said was true? It came true?" I said, "No way." I said, "No way." I said, "Your boyfriend was paraplegic?" She said, "Yes." I said, "He blamed you for his handicap even though it was not your fault?" She said, "Yes." I said, "You met a guy 3 months after and fell in love?" She said, "Yes." I said, "You got married 3 months after that?" And she didn't even say yes anymore. She just raised her hand and showed me the wedding ring. And the bumps, the hairs went up my arm. And I said, "Oh my God, what's happening to me? I'm turning into an alien. What's happening to me since I passed away?" And my band looked at me and they said, "What's wrong with you, man? You turning into Nostradamus on us?" I said, "I don't know what's happening to me." That's one instance. The other was I had another premonition about a bouncer, another bouncer, but this bouncer was friends with the band. He was cool people. And another huge type of guy, big guy. And the premonition was I had it on Thursday, that he shouldn't go out for the weekend. He should stay home. Don't go out. Stay home the whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, stay home. And it followed me. This premonition followed me like a cloud all around my head, all wherever I go for the whole day of Thursday and night. And I said to myself, yeah, if I tell him that, he's gonna think I'm nuts. I said, anyway, who's gonna mess with this guy? You have to be crazy in your head to want to pick a fight with him. This guy is huge. He's like I don't know, he's Hulk Hogan, the wrestling type, big. I said, nobody's gonna pick a fight with him. Nobody. You have to be crazy to pick a fight with this guy? No way. So I saw him on that Friday and I almost told him, but then I said, nah. He's a good friend. He's gonna think I lost my mind. Stay home, don't go anywhere. He's gonna think I lost my mind. So I didn't tell him. And that Sunday, because this bouncer worked for what we call after hours club. And after hours club, when the normal clubs close around 1 or 2, these clubs stay open from 3 till 9 a.m. in the morning. They called after hours clubs. And after the band, we would do our show. We have so much energy, we couldn't just go home and go to sleep. So we would go to the after hours, and also the audience would come to the after hours to sit and talk with us about the show, how much they liked or whatever. And they could still have a beer or a drink, whatever. So this bouncer was the doorman for that type of club. So on the Sunday, I came to the after hours after my show, me and the band, and I saw that the bouncer was not there. It was another bouncer there. And I said, and this bouncer was standing at the door with tears rolling down his face. And I said, "Hey, man, what's wrong?" And he said, "You didn't hear?" I said, "No, heard what?" And he said, "The name of the bouncer, he's dead." I said, "Dead?" I said, "What happened?" He said, "On Saturday, he met a girl. And after his shift, he took that girl to a hotel, and she waited until he fell asleep in bed, and she took a butcher knife and slashed his throat. And when he woke up after a certain point, he had lost too much blood, and he couldn't stop her, and he went unconscious, and he died. And I had to go to his funeral, and I was so sad, and I was so mad at myself. And then I asked my soul. I said, I feel so guilty. I should have told him. I should have. And my soul gave me an answer that he wouldn't have listened to you. And um, we have what we call exit points in the life. That means exit points is when points in your life that you can either choose to stay or go. And and rather you're physically conscious, you might not be physically conscious of it, but your soul is. I'll give you an example of an exit point. An exit point is like you're on the phone 10 minutes longer in the morning, so you're driving 10 minutes later, and if you had been on time you would have been in a car accident, but because you were on the telephone at home and you left 10 minutes later, you missed the accident. That's an exit point. Or you're late to the airport to catch your flight and you missed your flight, but that flight crashed. That's an exit point. Okay. So anyway, I promised myself after his death, I said, if I get a premonition about the President of the United States, I don't care if they think I'm crazy, weird, whatever, I'm going to tell them. I'm never going to withhold information. So after that, I started to do readings like once a month for people, and I started to help people. I've also um, I do healings also. I had some people who couldn't walk, who were going to be crippled. They were going to buy a wheelchair, and now they're at the discos because they did a healing session with me. My first client who got healed, she was a Reiki healer. I don't know if you know heard of Reiki. It's like energy healing. Reiki, yeah, yeah, and but she couldn't heal herself. She had a bad back, and she couldn't hardly stand. She would sit and do her Reiki healing. She couldn't stand up, and she was not so nice at first. She was my first healing success. She was not so nice because she said, "I've been to 20 different healers, and they all telling me a load of crap, and now I'm going to hear what kind of crap you're going to tell me." And I said to her, I said, "Well, I'm only going to tell you what your soul tells me to tell you." And I went into her energy, and her soul said to tell her, "Forget about everything you think you know about healing and just allow." And I told her that, and she said, nobody's ever told me that. And I said, well, are you ready to allow? And she said, yes. And I told her to close her eyes, and I allowed Source's energy to come through me to her. It went to her back, and then she was healed. She wrote a um, she wrote a comment on Next Level Soul about her healing, and she also wrote a comment on my website. You can go there and see it. Truth Energy Readings with an S.com. And and now she's painting, she's doing all kinds of things. She's very happy. But this is something that I discovered because I didn't know I could do that. But I wanted to try because something was inside of me was saying you can do that. You can help people with physical and spiritual and mental. I help also people with suicides and all kinds of any kind of problems that you may have in life. Um, it's called energy reading because what I do is I go inside someone's energy, which is your energy is your soul. And whatever question you ask me, I ask your soul. And your soul tells me the answer, and then I just repeat what your soul told me, and that's it. Okay. I don't walk around like I have all the answers and all that. No, no. I go into your soul for the answers. I don't know what the answer might be, but your soul does. Your soul has the information. So that's what I do. And I go into that. And that's why I read energy for people. And if people go on my website, they can book a session with me. And I hope you're going to put my website address on there so that you can reach me if they would like to book a session with me. After that, yeah, so that's what I'm doing. And like I said, I had a lot of information. Um, when I passed away, this information came to me, like example for hell. Why do some people experience hell when they die? Well, first thing is you have to realize one of my downloads was that we are gods with a big G, and also we are part of God. So whatever we think or we fear, we actually are creating because God is a creator also. So when we are the children of God, so we are just as powerful. So we are gods with a big G. So when you, let's say you're an atheist, but you secretly are afraid that it could be a hell. Because of that fear, you create it. And when you die, you go to this created place that you imagine that it should would be like. And two things happen. Either you stay there long enough and realize, oh, it's me who created this place, and I leave. Or second, you call out to God and you say, God, please take me out of hell. Please help me. And God says, okay, I take you out of your own creation. And then you go back and you think, oh, God, save me. I have to be a good Christian and I have to do what the Bible says and all that stuff. But the real reality is that first, God is only love. God never punishes you. Never. Only love, God is. But you have free will as a God. That means if you want to create that and you want to believe that and believe that, you create it. Okay? Now, the Christian Bible says that if you go to hell, you're not supposed to get out, right? So why is hundreds of people getting out of hell? It's because God didn't create it. Because if God created hell, no one would get out. No one. But God is only love. So this is part of the downloads I got. And also the Bible, only some of it is true, not all of it, sorry. The Bible was manipulated by the government at the time and also by the religious leaders at the time. So a lot of it's not true. Christ was trying to tell you there was a Christ, yes, but it was not because you're a sinner. Christ came with the consciousness to help you to play this game. Now, this life is a game. I'm going to tell you all of it, all my downloads if I can. My download says that this life, this Earth life is a game. It was created by other souls on the other side so that you can come to experience what you are not. Okay, for example, if you've been surrounded by lo unconditional love for billions and billions of years, you have superpowers beyond your imagination. After billions and billions of years, you might say, well, I wonder what it would be like if I didn't have all this. Oh yeah, the Earth game. And it's temporary. I could play that. I could go there and I could experience how it is not to have love or how it is not to have all these powers or how it is to experience something different. Totally different from what I am. And that's what you decided to play. And um, also the same thing for heaven. Um, because on the other side, everything, every place is heaven because it's all created by God. So there's not a particular place that, oh, I die and I go to heaven. But some people, because they believe it so much and they are gods, they create the heaven. And they go to the heaven and they may see Jesus or Virgin Mary. And they, after a while, they see that there's nothing happening here. There's nothing going on. And they realize that they created it. They actually created it. Now, there was a Jesus that did come. And his mission was he wanted to bring the consciousness of the other side to this game so that people could play this game better. This is a game. That was the other thing that I realized also when I popped out my body. Another first thing that I had in my mind was that, oh, I took this life too serious. It's not serious at all. It's actually a game that souls come in here to play. And people, when you die, depending on your mind and your heart, um, you may see religious figures because it's made to make you feel comfortable into the transition. If you're a Muslim, you may see Allah. If you're a Buddhist, you may see Buddha. If you're a Christian, you may see Christ. If you understand, these are all to make you feel comfortable. Because even my dead mother, she had been dead for about 3 weeks, maybe, but she didn't know how to come to the earth anymore. She needed an escort. So it takes time for different people to adjust, some longer, some shorter. Okay. These are all downloads that came to me. And on the other side, there is no right or wrong, only perception. Somebody asked me, he said, well, what about Hitler who did all those bad things? And you mean he's not going to be punished? No, he's not going to be punished, but he does have to do what we call a life review. Everybody does. Yes. And the life review, you're going to feel everything what you did in that life, but you're also going to feel it from the other person's perspective. So let's say if you had an argument with your sister, you're going to feel what your sister felt while you were arguing with her, as well as what you felt. So someone like Hitler, who affected millions and killed and tortured millions, he has to feel all those people what they felt. And that's not going to be so nice, believe me. But it's not forever. It's not meant to torture. It is a life review. God is not even judging you in this life review. The only person that may judge you is guess who? You. You might say, wow, I could have played that Monopoly game a lot better. Every person on this earth is made, their true essence is only love. That's it. Only love. And when they lose who their identity is, and also 50% of your life is planned, and the other 50% is free will. You plan who your mother is, your father is, your sister, your brother, your best friend, the guy that's going to break your heart, the guy you're going to marry, your children, your dog. Okay, all this is planned before. And the other 50% is free will. You're not even the stuff that you planned, it doesn't mean that it's written in stone that you have to do it. You can say, I don't want that best friend anymore. I don't want those parents anymore. I don't go home anymore. I run away. You see, you have free will. And Yeah, so someone like Hitler will be welcomed in love from God, but he will have a life review. And Hitler has to face that for Hitler. He has to face all of that, which is not a pretty picture because he has to feel that. We all have to feel what we might have done to or argued with or said or did to, and we might have hurt somebody. We have to feel that feeling, what they felt. So somebody who kills a lot of people and tortures a lot of people, they have to feel all of that. So it's not fun. But it's not forever, and it's not to torture them. And as a matter of fact, on the other side, in human time, things happen faster because we're on higher vibration. We're vibrating much faster. It's like a propeller of a plane. It looks like it disappeared, right? When you looked at the propeller of a plane, but if you put your finger in that propeller, you know it's there, right? It's the same for a soul. It's vibrating on such a fast, high level. To us, it looks like they're not there. They disappeared, but they're there. Some challenged me and some were amazed and grateful. I remember one man, he came and he sat because I was doing an energy reading session about for health for him. And he sat down and he looked like a normal man, like you couldn't tell anything. He walked normal, he moved normal. And and he asked me about his health, and I was looking through his body with my energy, and I saw that one of his legs was not real. Something is not right. Something is totally off. And I said, "This is one of his legs is not real." And I told him, I said, "Your health is good now, but your left leg is not real." And he said, "Yes, that's right. But you are real," he said. He said, "Nobody could know because I walk normal. It's fixed and very normal. I moved like everybody else. But I wanted to test you to see if you were real." And he said, "You are real." And others come to my healing sessions, and sometimes people in the healing session, you may feel the energy enter your body. And some people are not sensitive with their bodies, so they don't feel any energy, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work. And I had this one guy, because I do also Q&A sessions for people who are members of my website. That means you get a chance to come for 1 hour to ask questions, and it's much cheaper than the the fee if you pay for an hour or half an hour session with me, personal, direct. But in the Q&A sessions, you might have maybe 4 or 5 people from different countries also, and they all hear your personal things. If you want it, if you want to be personal, you have to book a personal session. But the Q&A sessions are there to help people who can't afford. But the only thing is everybody hears the answer. So if you ask them personal questions, know that everybody's going to hear the answer. Um, so yeah, so this one guy whose name was my name, actually, his name was Dennis, and I did a healing session with him. And I ask, and usually I ask through the middle of the session, "Hey, do you feel any energy entering your body?" And some are going to say, "Yes, I feel it," which is usually a very good sign that they're going to be healed and everything is going to work out. But some don't feel it, and it's not because the healing isn't going to work. It's just because they're not sensitive enough to know when a new energy even enters their body. They won't feel it. So Dennis was one of them. He didn't feel anything, and he thought, "Well, I don't feel nothing, so probably ain't going to work." And then 2 weeks later, he came to my Q&A and he said, "Hey, it's me, Dennis." I said, "Hey, Dennis, how you doing?" And he says, "Well, I'm not going to buy that wheelchair that I was going to buy because now my legs work, my back works, and I'm healed and I'm going to the discos tonight." So that's just one of the many stories that have happened from healing. Also, I wanted to say to you, I'm doing a retreat in Egypt It's going to happen on October 18 to October 27. Okay. It'll be 6 nights in a beautiful hotel in Luxor, um, and 3 nights on a beautiful Dabeya boat, Egyptian boat, where everybody will have their own personal room, and this boat will be on the Nile River. And also there will be yoga, there'll be meditation, there'll be holotropic breathing, there'll be music performances by me, and also one-on-one energy readings, and also Q&A uh, energy readings. And also the cuisine will be vegetarian and also meat eaters if you eat meat. Um, and this is an amazing retreat that's going to happen in Egypt. So I'm telling everybody, and this right now, if you buy your tickets, the early bird special, it's much cheaper within the next 3 months because after that the price goes back up. But right now, it's the next 3 months, it's a cheaper price. It's going to be an amazing retreat. The yoga is going to make, and it's for beginners too. If you're a beginner, you don't have to be an expert in the yoga. I have a great instructor for that and meditation, and it's just going to be an amazing event. We did it last year, and um, and the minimum people, it's only going to be 8 to 12 people, so it won't be like bunches of people. You'll have only a few people, and you get very personal attention. And Egypt is a quite amazing place. And so I just want to make sure everybody knows to come to my website and check it out. And if you get a chance, I would love to see you there. Reach me at my website or at my email, energyreadings.com, and my email is easybullock@hotmail.com. And like I said, I handle um, suicides, I handle mental abuse, I handle depression, I handle healings, I handle energy readings in general about relationships, about children, about any spiritual questions you may have about the other side. Okay. Yeah. And before all this happened to me, I was just a normal musician. I did a lot of work with a lot of big uh, music stars, Quincy Jones, just a lot of really big stars in America. But I still do music, but I do it in a different way because I'm not so ambitious about it as I was before. I'm more about giving a good concert of love. If you feel good in my shows and you love the music, I did my job. In my downloads, let's talk about the time we live in now. We are in the transition, which means that we are transitioning from 3D to 5D. What is 3D? 3D is duality. That's why life would feel good, bad, good, bad. That's 3D. 5D will only be love, peace, and truth. Okay? No wars, no killings of animals, plants, or people in 5D. You're going to have 20% of your soul's power in the physical body, in the physical consciousness. For example, right now, the life you're having right now is like a small piece of your soul's fingernail that powers your life right now. That's how powerful your soul is. So imagine that you have 20% of your soul's power in your physical body. First thing in 5D, you're not going to need your iPhone anymore. You'll have telepathy. Second thing, you'll be able to communicate with all things, animals, plants, trees, water, air. Third thing, you'll be able to create things out of matter with your mind. So if you want a McDonald's double cheeseburger, you're going to have one, but it'll be the most healthy McDonald's cheeseburger you ever had. Okay? Fourth thing, there'll be no wars, there'll be no killing of animals, plants, or people. People get into fights about, oh, you're a vegetarian, oh, you're a meat eater. But the real truth is that you're killing something because plants have lives too, and they scream when you kill them, actually. But we can't hear it on our frequency. It's like if you have a dog and it hears a sound. Just because you don't hear the sound doesn't mean the sound is not there. The dog hears it or the cat hears it, but you can't hear it because it's not on your frequency. It's the same for plants. When you kill a plant, you're killing it. It's screaming. Same for animals. When you kill an animal. And the thing is about bad food or not healthy food, if you bless your food will be healthy. That means if you say thank you and I love you food, literally say it to your food, it will change the properties of the food. This has already been proven in Japan with two bowls of white rice. One bowl, he said every day, I hate you. I hate you. For 1 month, he said that. And another bowl, he said, I love you. I love you every day for a month. At the end of the month, one bowl of white rice turned totally black, unedible. The other bowl that he said, I love you, stayed white and you still could eat it after 1 month. That's to show you how powerful your words are because you're a God. So what you think and what you say is a 24-hour prayer to the universe. And the law of attraction is real. It's real on the other side, and it's also real on this side, just a little bit delayed on this side. Okay? So it's important to know that. And the other thing is, in my downloads, um, there is no karma. What there is law of attraction and there's frequency. For example, if somebody's killing somebody, okay, because they killed that person doesn't mean that God's going to get revenge and now I'm going to kill you because you killed that person. No, it's because you are on the killing frequency. It's like a radio station. If you're on the rock station, you can't get classical music on the rock station. You can't. It's the same for frequency. If you're on the killing frequency, you can kill somebody, but because you're on that killing frequency, you also can be killed. So it's not about karma because there's no debt. God is not out to get revenge. Oh, you did something in your last life before, and now I'm going to make you pay. You were a king before, now you're going to be the poorest person in the world in this life. No, it doesn't work like that. Every soul has free will, and you choose what kind of life you want to experience. And it's like, I like the color purple, but I can't say, and you like the color yellow. If I can't say, oh, you should like purple, not yellow. Or you can't say to me, I should like yellow, not purple. You see what I'm saying? It's the same for life experience. Some people choose hard experiences. That's why they suicide sometimes. Even their angels or guardian angels, we all have guardian angels, by the way, a team that watches over us through the whole lifetime. And some of the angels say before, because we all plan our life, some of them say, maybe you should plan a little bit easier life. It might be too much. But when you're on the other side, you're Superman, you're Superwoman. You feel unconditional love. You have unlimited power of creation. That means you can create anything literally with your thought. So you think oh, I can handle this earth stuff, no problem. And then they get here and they find out they put too much on their plan and they suicide and they go back home. You see? So I'm just sharing the downloads I got. Now, here's the thing I wanted to make sure I explain. We're living in a transition. So the earth is going to do a timeline split. Now, timelines, I have to explain this too, because this is all part of the downloads. We change timelines every 3 minutes, whether you know it or not, whether you're conscious of it or not. For example, I'll give an example of a timeline shift. Have you ever put your keys on a table in your home and you come back 2 hours later and those keys are not there? Or an object, it doesn't have to be keys, any object. And you put them on the table and you know you put them on the table, but you came back 2 hours later and they're not there now. You go around looking all around your apartment, all everywhere for this keys or whatever this object is. You can't find it. And then you come back 2 hours later, and then the object is there on the table again. That is a timeline shift. You've experienced a timeline shift. Okay? Now when the Earth is going to split into two timelines, what's going to happen is people who are on a lower vibration are going to go to 3D, and people on a higher vibration are going to go to 5D. For example, what is low vibration? Low vibration is fear, hate, judgment, depression, okay? Guilt, sadness, anger. This is all low vibration. What does low vibration do? Low vibration makes things work difficult if they work at all. And low vibration is very bad for your health. Okay, what is high vibration? Smiles, laughing, love, nature, animals, babies, creating of any kind, forgiveness, gratitude. This is all high vibration. Now, what does high vibration do? High vibration makes things work easier. High vibration brings any life goals you have to happen quicker. And the doctor will tell you if you laugh more, what? High vibrations is great for your health. Now, when the earth splits, which we're coming very close to that, when the earth split, what vibration you are on at that moment, that's the vibration you will be stuck on until you leave the game. Okay, the earth is a soul, by the way. It's alive. It's a soul playing a role. But the earth doesn't want to play 3D anymore. Okay? Now, the 3D timeline is not going to be actually the real earth. It's going to be like a copy. For example, if you stand in front of a wall, you're going to have your shadow and you're going to have you, right? Well, the shadow will be the 3D and the real you will be the 5D. Okay? When the split happens, it's not going to be like you go to sleep and you wake up, millions have disappeared. No. It's going to be like going from winter to summer gradually. It's happening now. It's gradually happening. Okay? And God doesn't care which one you go. If you go to 3D, oh, she took the long road home, but she's coming home. If you go to 5D, oh, she took the short road home, she's coming home. God is only love. God loves you forever and ever and ever and never will stop. Okay. So that's all. So people know as the planet is rising in vibration, it is getting more closer to what God. That's why you have all this confusion and all these people trying to their last struggle to hold on to power, these lower vibration people, but they cannot hold on to it. They will lose. Okay. So this is the transition we're living in, and that's why things feel confusing because a lot of people are still trying to do what they did 10 years ago on the earth, but it's not working because the earth is on a whole brand new frequency, a whole new vibration. I don't know if you heard of the Schumann resonance. The Schumann resonance, you see this light blue line around the earth behind me? That's the Schumann resonance. It's responsible for the thunderstorms, electricity. It's the heartbeat of the earth. Okay. Normally, this Schumann resonance, this electrical pulse around the earth, normally it's at 7.83. That's the frequency, which is the same exact frequency of the human brain, 7.83. But right now, it is at 43, going up to 100 and plus. It's never happened like that before. And what that's doing is changing our DNA. And that is preparing us for 5D. But not everybody's going to go to 5D because if they don't choose to be more often on higher vibrations, then most likely they're going to go to 3D. And the evolution of 3D is not such a pretty place. I can tell you that. But anyway, the thing is that I tell my clients to write a list of 10 things that automatically make you happy. The first thing is nature. If you live near a lake, a park, a river, a tree, you sit under the tree for 1 hour, your vibration will rise automatically. You don't have to do anything. The nine other things are going to be things that bring you joy. Could be your favorite ice cream, could be a funny movie, could be a girlfriend or a boyfriend, could be creating music, drawing, writing, could be a good book, could be a puppy or a kitten. Okay. Um, you write on this list, and if you wake up in the morning and you feel bad or you feel afraid, your emotions are your thermometer to tell you if you're going on high vibrations or low vibrations. Okay. So if you feel bad, you know you're on low vibrations, then you do one of the 10 things on your list. Okay. Mine, I have the same list that I'm talking about. My number two is Bugs Bunny. So I watch Bugs Bunny for 15 minutes and I'm laughing again. If I feel afraid about President Trump or whatever he may be doing, my emotions is telling me, hey, you're on a fear vibration. What are you going to do about it? Because that's usually the problem. People stay on that fear or that low vibration too long, and the law of attraction kicks in and it gives them more low vibration. So when you feel that you're not feeling well or your emotions tell you, then that's telling you, hey, you're on low vibrations. What are you going to do about it? And you go onto your list of 10 things and do one of them. That's it. Because I want to say this is very important. It's not about being perfect. It's like I want you to be like a 3-year-old little girl. What does a 3-year-old little girl do? She might run down the street and she's going to run real fast and then she falls. Wow. Then she's going to scream. She's going to feel that low vibration emotion. But a minute later, that same 3-year-old little girl is going to be laughing because she felt that low vibration emotion, but then she let it go. Where adults, they hold on to it for hours, days, weeks, years, even decades. So if you have to feel low vibration emotion, feel it, but then let it go. Because if you try to hold it down and say, "Oh, I'm just going to try to be happy. I'm trying to be happy," and then you're going to explode because you're not being your real self. So be like the child. Feel whatever you need to feel, but just feel it and then let it go. Don't hold on to it if it's low vibration. And that's what I want to say because everything else, and also stay away from low vibration conversation. If you have friends that come and tell you, hey, remember last year that flood, it could happen again. It could be a nuclear war. Yeah, it could be a flood, could be a earthquake, could be a hurricane. That's all low vibration conversation. Rather, it's friends, family, or partner. You got to say, look, we talk another time. Don't engage in low vibration conversation. And also, if something bad happened to you in the past, doesn't mean because it happened that you have to go back to the past because that's going to bring your vibration down if it's low vibration. Okay? Because a lot of people think, oh, I have to go back because it really happened and I'm ignoring it. Yes. If it's low vibration, ignore it because it's not going to help you. It's going to bring your vibration back down again every time you remember it, every time you go back to it. Okay? So this is how I tell people so they can deal better in the environment that we're living in now. We are changing. Things are not going to go back to the way they were before, and they never will because the planet is rising. What's good is that the earth on a higher vibration, people who do bad things on a higher vibration are not going to get the expected results. Okay? So that goes for a lot of things.